do his speech, 3 tools to connect with the audience effectively. Tony is practicing part of a 60-minute presentation. We'll be taking with us 3 tools that will allow us to craft and deliver a speech, and also ways to control our fear of public speaking. Welcome to the screen, Tony Valles.
It was 1994, and I was in front of an audience of executives, high-level corporate executives. I was supposedly giving a marketing plan for the year. As I placed the first transparency, because in those years, there were very little electronic projectors like we have right now. So we have the overhead transparency and the overhead projector. And as I placed it, I started shaking. And I didn't look at the audience, but I could feel their looks on me. I went as fast as I could, but every time I lifted one of the transparency, I was afraid that I might misplace it. And sure enough, one of them was inverted. I didn't notice it until I started reading, because I was reading all my transparencies and not looking at the audience. I was going as fast as I could, reading every single transparency. I had about 20, 25, and I couldn't wait to finish. When I finished, I didn't even wait for the questions. I was supposed to have a question and answer session, and I forgot, and I went and sat down. It was good that I didn't have any question and answer, because probably the audience didn't understand a single thing I said. At the end of the presentation, my boss, Arturo, comes and says, "Antonio, what happened? You practiced yesterday and it was okay." I've never been in front of this type of audience. They're all high-level executives. They made me afraid. Well, you better control your fear of public speaking. There are ways to do it. And sure enough, I joined Toastmasters. And it's been, what, almost 28 years since that day. Today, you are taking with you some tools. But first, let me ask you, what about you? Are you afraid of public speaking? Well, you are not alone. If you are, 75%, according to studies, say that they are afraid of public speaking. But I believe that the only 25% is lying. So let's take with you, let's start our, whoops, oh my God. What happened here? Sorry. Okay. Do I have permission to share? Yes,
Absolutely,
I do.
yes. Yeah, we saw it for a second, Tony.
I do. Okay. So let me go to slides here, start from the beginning. Okay, there we go. So you're taking today with you 3 tools that will allow you to connect effectively with your audience. And these are the 3 tools that you will take: the structure, the content, and the delivery. And we will go through each one of those tools individually. And what happens is that these tools can be represented with a chain link in this chain. And they interact and produce a synergetic force in such a way that one might complement the other in case one is weak. But if one is totally weak, so weak that it breaks the link, then the connecting force breaks. You're over here as a presenter and the audience is over here. And if it breaks, then you don't have any speech. So let's see how we can use the structure, content, and delivery in a very effective way so that they are powerful enough. But first, before we do that, we need to look behind the scenes and see what is the starting point. The starting point for us is to determine the purpose or the message of the speech. How do you do that? You ask yourself a question: what are the needs of the audience? You need to find out what the needs of the audience are. What type of audience are you going to be talking about? And what is their need? What is it that they're looking for? Once you know that, then you find a way to satisfy the need. And once you have that, then you go a step beyond and visualize and take your audience in a visualization trip so that they can see what is in for them if they follow your suggestions about satisfying their needs, about the message that you're going to produce to them. What will it do for them? So once you have those three elements worked out, then you can continue or proceed to figure out what the purpose of your speech is. What is the purpose of or the message of the speech? And you ask yourself this question: what do I want my audience to feel, think, or do after they hear my speech? When you do that, then you have the purpose of the speech. And one of the purposes or the messages that you might have is that you want to empower them to act, to do something, to take an action of some type. And when you do that, then you're ready to proceed. We're ready to begin to take a look at each one of the tools that we have. And the first one will be structure. Structure is like the outline that we regularly use. It has the different elements of the speech, but it gives us the sequence. We have to start here. And you have to put them in such a way that the speech flows well. Sometimes we say, you don't have a good structure. We don't have a good structure because we don't have every element in place. And that's something that we need to do. We're going to be covering a few of these points here. And the first one will be the opening. How do we want to do? Oops, sorry. You're not supposed to see that yet. The opening, we want to open with a bang, always. And there are many speakers that start talking about the weather, start thanking everyone. They talk about past events. And these are what we call unpleasant pleasantries. We already know how the weather is outside. Why would you have to tell us, oh, it's a hot day today? We're wasting time when that happens because we only have 10 to 30 seconds for the audience to decide whether they're going to listen to us or not. We want to have an impact right at the beginning. So we open with a story, with a question, with a startling statement. And as you already might noticed, my best way of starting a speech is with a story, because the story immediately connects with the audience. And I don't even thank anybody. I just start. The next thing that we have is the promise. I promise you that you will be taking 3 tools with you. And I gave you a roadmap. We're going to be looking at structure first, and then content, and then delivery. And then we talked about these 3 points precisely: structure. So I will cover first the structure, and then the content and the delivery. And then if there's a Q&A session, a question and answer, it should go before the conclusion. The reason for that is that we want, as we started with a bang, we also want to finish with a bang. We don't want to end in a bad note. Sometimes there are questions that you cannot answer or are negative questions. You don't want the audience to go with a negative note. You want them to go in a positive way, empowered to act. That's what you want to do. So that's why you have to finish with the conclusion, maybe a call to action, a summary of what you covered, something that they can remember you for. That's why it's very important to have the Q&A before the conclusion. Okay, now you can see this. And this, I'm sure that you're getting hungry now by just looking at it. Content is the meat of the speech. And the meat is to a hamburger what the speech, what the content is to a speech. And here is where we spend the most time, because we want to have a strong case. And to formulate a strong case, we need to be persuasive, we need to be creative, and we want to be succinct. And sticking to the point is very important, because we want to, first of all, stay away from any unpleasant pleasantries and just stick to the point of the message. We want to be persuasive because we want to have a strong case, and creative at the same time. We want to be unique. We want to think out of the box. And to do that, we have a tool that we call the PARS formula, and it comes from Craig Valentine. And this is an acronym, basically. So the P is for point or foundational phrase. A foundational phrase carries your message. It encompasses your message or the purpose of the speech. And by doing that, you have a way for the audience to remember your speech. This is a memorable phrase, no more than 10 words. It must be rhythmic if possible, but it must be short so that it's easy to remember, easy to repeat. One very classical foundational phrase is, I have a dream. How many times was that repeated in his speech? And another one is, ask not what the country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. We still remember that phrase, even though it has been so long. So that's what a foundational phrase does for your speech. It is memorable and it's easy to say, and the audience will remember it, and if they remember it, they'll remember your speech. And the A is for an anchor, and this is a way to anchor your message in the mind of the audience. An anchor could be a story, could be an analogy, could be an acronym as well. And one of the most powerful anchors is the story, especially if it has a conflict, because you immediately hook the audience with the conflict. They're wondering how you're going to resolve it. The other is the R for reflection. These are rhetorical questions that you ask the audience so that they reflect on your message. And you ask questions as it relate to them. And the other one is a technique, and this is an exercise if you have the time to do it. And this also is for them to understand your material better. And the final is sail. But why sail? What are we doing with sail here? What we're doing is that we have to accept the fact that all of us are in sales. We're always selling a message, an idea, or a product. And That is why sales is so important. In this case, when you're doing a message, you're selling a message, and you have to find the benefits to sell your message and convince your audience. Be persuasive, be creative in selling that message. That's the most important part of the content, how you're going to sell your message. A public speaker is always selling, and results is what sells. So results are the benefits that you are actually selling, and that's how they will buy. So when you're talking about a message, you're talking about what is in for them. Okay, then in the content also we have the triad, which is very useful. It's a list of 3 of the humor, or it also can be used in humor. I can't cover all that, unfortunately. So we need to proceed to delivery right now. And here we have a pizza. I hope you guys are hungry, because this pizza was delivered. We took too long, so it's cold. Do you like cold pizzas? I hope you don't. But what happens when you have good content, a good structure, and you can look at the pizza, it's very tasty. But if it's cold, you're probably not going to eat it. So the delivery failed. And if the delivery fails, then this link is going to be broken, even though you have such a wonderful structure and such a wonderful content. So that's why delivery is very important. And we have 3 elements in delivery: the verbal language, the body language, and the control of fear. The verbal language, as we know already, we have the vocal variety, rate, volume, or pitch. You don't want to stay at the same rate when you speak. You want to vary that rate, vary that pitch, and also have a clear voice, enunciate, and be conversational. Pauses, no verbal fillers, and give time to reflect as well. Then finally, we have the body language, and you can see this beautiful lady here is doing very good with her smile. She's having eye contact, and she's already doing some gestures. And that's exactly what takes the body language. The body language, they say that communication is 90% of the communication. That body language is about 90% of communication. That might be right or not, but that's not the important thing. The important element here is that if you only do verbal language, you are wasting the power if you only use verbal language, you're wasting the power of the body language. So we have all these facial expressions, smile is very important. Of course, gestures are very important. The use of stage also is very important. So to control your fear, days before the event, practice. That's the only way that you are going to feel confident deliver your speech without any fear. And then also have a positive attitude. Be thinking that you're going to succeed. And think that the audience is there to support you. 5 minutes before the event, relax and do breathing exercises. I don't have time to go through this, but it's a 4x4 exercise that you do to breathe. And ask yourself questions, positive questions. For example, how would I give this presentation if I knew it was going to be the last one? And during the event, just focus on the audience. Again, relax, have a positive attitude. And if you fail, then you fail. It's just accept it. Don't even worry. Oh, I'm going to fail. Accept that you might fail, because it's possible. And use humor to get out of that. I don't have time to questions. I don't have time to keepers. But I do have time to tell you that you are now ready to control your fear of public speaking. and you're also ready to deliver your speech. Yeah, I have given you 3 tools: the structure, the content, and the delivery. Learning them is not enough. You have to master them. And to master them, you have to practice. And if you practice and practice and practice, you will feel confident and you will eventually be able to control your fear of public speaking. And may the connecting force be with you. Thank you.